Hey, welcome once again, viewers. And it's good that we're seeing that you've been supporting the channel with your subscription. Thank you once again. Today, I want to share my trip to this historical and cultural, recreational, institutional, commercial site, a very popular place in Winnipeg. I think by now you should know I'm talking about the Forks. The Forks is a meeting place for people to come together, which archaeological findings has proven that this place has been in existence for over 6,000 years. Yes, you heard it right. And we want to go around and see what this place is like, what are the opportunities you can have, especially the restaurants, the food and all that. But because of COVID restriction, we might not go to the old food park. But I will also be sharing some other activities that you can do, for example, the boat ride, hiking, bicycle ride, and many other things. Just remember to support the channel, help by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing your views. Thank you.
Are you guys interested in history, or do you want just more of a longer kind of boat ride, more relaxing?
History? History will be fine.
We like the history.
History will be fine, actually.
The history?
Yeah.
Let's go to history. We're just going to head up the Assinaboine for a little bit here. Eventually we'll turn around, we'll come back through the forest, then we'll get to the Red River a little later. But that's the plan.
I know there's something about this place. There was a huge flooding one year like that, a long time ago. That actually
Very windy
flooded
today.
the whole of
On the right side, the bridge support, you got these three lines, blue, yellow, red.
Yeah.
These are pretty much just flood lines, okay? So starting at the bottom with the blue, the blue line represents our normal spring water levels, okay? So pretty much every year, once all the ice and snow melts, pours into the river, we're kind of expecting that it's going to get about to that blue line, and that's pretty normal. This year we didn't really come close just because it was so dry and
COVID.
really, no. The water's scared of COVID. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think of that. No, but we didn't have that much snow in the first place. The yellow line's getting into flooding, which is not somewhere we want to be, but obviously it's not the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario would be red or above. Red is extreme flooding. It has happened before. It's only ever happened 2 times, but it has happened before. The last time red was hit was the flood in 1997.
Wow.
The flood of the century. And major flood compared to the whole Red River Valley. Just because we have the floodway that goes around the east side of the city, so we're often pretty well defended, but there's only so much you can do.
Wow, 101 years.
Originally in 1920.
1920.
That was after a long 7 years of construction. They never really planned for it to take that long, but the year after they started, World War I broke out, and then kind of caused a lot of issues. After World War I started, it became really hard to get a lot of the resources and the funding and all that kind of stuff for the building, so it took a while. Our building, definitely considered one of the nicer or more impressive legislatures in Canada. It has some similarities with other ones, but what makes ours the most unique is the Golden Boy at the very top. The Golden Boy is not the statue's real name. The real name of the prize, but no one knows that, so we just call him the Golden Boy. Yeah. But that's really kind of what he's meant to represent. He represents like youthfulness, success, prosperity, enterprise, all that good stuff.
Oh, Golden Boy is hiding.
Pretty much right in Paris. Almost didn't make it here because of the war.
Is it real gold?
On the outside, yeah. It's 24 karat gold.
Wow.
But it's, pardon me?
What was the cost?
It wasn't that much. So it's just a bronze statue, very thin layer of 24 karat gold around the outside. But back in the day, like over 100 years ago now, they only paid $14,000 for it, which would be like, in today's money, maybe $250,000. Still not a lot for that, but yeah. It actually didn't get its first layer of gold until like 30 years after it was already here. Pardon me? Yes. Sounded like you said good boy, yeah. He's always been a good boy, but yeah, not always a
He's
gold
obedient,
boy.
I guess. Just sitting there all
Yeah, yeah.
for the last 100
He
years.
does what he's told, you know. But it's really hard to tell from down here, but the thing's huge. Like, it's just over 17 feet tall.
Wow.
From the toes to the top of the torch, so. He's a big boy, he's a good boy, he's gold. It
Enterprise,
was modeled after the
freedom.
Roman god Mercury, and yeah, not too much else to say about it. Pardon me?
I've been inside before. And the thing is taking me away that I really don't know how to explain it.
So they put him up there in late 1919, and
That's just after the World War.
just after World War I, yeah. Yeah, he was delayed because of the war, so he didn't get here until it ended. But yeah, they brought him down in 2002, and he was kind of getting like, I don't know,
Touch up.
gross. Yeah, he needed a touch up. Like, he was really tarnished, very kind of green. I mean, he'd been up there for like over 80 years, right? So yeah, he needed to come down. So they brought him down, they replated it, they redid all the under him. So yeah, I mean, he should be good for a long while longer, but 20 years later, he still looks pretty shiny. And while they were working on it too, they actually had him in the forks, so anyone could walk right up and see him up close. And then that's a statue of Louis Riel at the top of the stairs. Squint your eyes, tilt your head, it kind of looks like Trudeau, but
Let me see.
just maybe the hair, I don't know.
Yeah, kind of.
Any questions before we head to the Red River?
No.
Nope. Okay. Pardon me while I'm trying to talk like this. But yeah, the forks is where the two rivers meet, just past the bridge there. So that's really why this area is special. It's where a lot of the indigenous tribes used to come meet roughly 6,000 years ago. They've done archaeological work here, and they have found artifacts that they've dated back thousands of years. So this was essentially like a meeting place or a trading post or like a place for community, stuff like that. Eventually, the fur traders came through, the Europeans, they ruined everything, and then they started the fur trade, and they had some of those fur trading forts kind of set up in this general area. And it wasn't too long after that to where Winnipeg settled, and then this area became the site of a big rail yard. And that's like what put Winnipeg on the map. The big rail yard era. That's when Winnipeg was known as the Chicago of the North and the gateway to the West. We were one of the fastest growing cities in North America for a while. They thought by today we'd be like Toronto or Vancouver or something like that, but obviously that didn't work out very well. The reasoning for that, it's kind of interesting. It's actually the Panama Canal. So when the Panama Canal opened, it completely changed the world. It shifted the whole trading industry towards shipping, and like, you know, these big ocean liners or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, rail kind of fell by the wayside a bit, and especially as they started to develop more and more out west, everywhere else kind of got their own railways, and you know, Winnipeg just kind of became a lot less important after that. But it's not all bad. Today we're the Slurpee capital of the world.
Sloppy capital of the world.
We've got that going for us.
Is that right? Like,
yes,
is that
it's true.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
We apparently we buy more Slurpees than anywhere else in the world. Nothing else to do. So yeah, this is the end of the Assinaboine River. So this river starts in eastern Saskatchewan. It's a little over 1,000 kilometers long, and then this is where it ends, so it flows right into the red. And if we turn right, we point right, this will take us south, and eventually you'll end up going through North Dakota and Minnesota. The Red River is pretty much the border between those two states.
Right.
So yeah, you pass like right through Fargo and all that. If you turn left, eventually you'll end up in Lake Winnipeg. So all this water is flowing north, and eventually, yeah, it all ends up in Lake Winnipeg.
Wow. Then if it flows into the lake, it's not flowing out.
Nope.
What happens in the end if, that is, if the site is flooded, the result gets to Lake Winnipeg?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I know, doesn't all that drain into Hudson's Bay as well? Like Lake Winnipeg. I know it's connected through the Nelson River there, so I guess eventually it might all end up in Hudson's Bay, but I'm not 100% sure on this.
So maybe like other tributaries will just disappear, the water might go other ways before getting to Lake Winnipeg.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Lekki Phase 1.
Yeah.
Lekki Great Link Bridge.
Yeah.
My little guys. Yeah. You see this one? Yeah. That one. Have another Queen. Alright. Lekki Queen. Here's your cousin.
Esplanade Riel Bridge just down the river. I'd say this is the view that's probably associated most with Winnipeg today, so maybe modern Winnipeg. The museum's only about 7 years old, so still pretty new, but you know, definitely getting up there. And then the bridge is about 17 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you go back 20 years, it's hard to tell, right? In that time, this view has really come to define Winnipeg. Bridge, normally in the middle there's a restaurant there, so you can go have lunch or dinner right in the middle of the bridge. It's pretty cool. The last couple of years with COVID, it's been closed, but from what I've heard, they're ready to open again next summer, so hopefully that works out for them. They've always kind of had their struggles operating out of there.
I can imagine.
So this is the largest French community we have in Winnipeg, and you can see around that side the bus passed. That is where you can find them.
That front wall is the only thing we have left of it. It's left standing as a monument. The big hole in the middle, that was a stained glass window, and it got pretty much shattered from all the heat and the pressure generated from the fire. And then yeah, in the mid-70s they built a new church right behind that wall. That's what you see through the hole, but you can't replace something like that, right?
No.
It was a beautiful, beautiful building. There are big bell towers on either side of that wall too, so pretty sad. It is a nice little area to walk around though. Riel is buried right up there.
Oh, the same Riel from the legislature building.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's where he's buried, right up there.
Up closer, let's
back when Winnipeg was still like the early 20th century, when we were known as the Chicago of the North. The Exchange was a big part of that. The reason why it's called the Exchange District is because there's a big grain exchange here. But it also kind of talks about like the general exchange of goods and services and stuff like that. What makes this area unique is that it's primarily made up of like older, kind of early mid-century buildings, built in an old Chicago style, and it's unique because of how well preserved we've kept everything. Like the city's done a pretty good job with it. A lot of the buildings are so well preserved to the point where you still see a lot of the old advertisements painted on the buildings.
Wow.
Like, yeah, you don't really see that too often, so it's pretty incredible. And that's part of the reason why we get some filming done in here occasionally. We kind of pass it off as like Chicago or New York even, depending on what street you're on.
But has there been any like debates about preserving old buildings and building new ones?
I mean, I think the main reason why they never did like, and I'm just guessing here, but why they never did a lot of newer development here, kind of in like after the big boom era Winnipeg had, was really just because we didn't have that much money coming in after that. So it's like we kind of just had to preserve what we had and keep it around. So I think that's kind of how it started. But then, especially over the last like 10, 15 years, the area has become a lot nicer. Like it's become a lot trendier, and yeah, it's just kind of a cool area now. Whereas before it was similar, but not as nice. And now they actually have started to build more newer developments. So like a lot of these condos
buildings,
here are new.
exactly.
And, yeah, like these are some of the more expensive condos in the city too. Like pretty nice area to live in.
Is there a story behind this building?
Yeah.
No, that's the exchange building you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so this building, this was built in the early 50s, and it used to be a water pumping station. So it pumped water from the river up to a steam plant nearby, and then all that steam is what heated up downtown Winnipeg for like 40 years. So it was a really important building, and now they've converted it into a restaurant. And then the colorful building, the striped one right behind it, is a hotel.
Does that light up at night?
Pardon me?
Does it light up at night? The colors?
They have lights on it. Like the bars themselves don't light up, but they shine light on it, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
That big wooden log wall, you kind of see a building behind it, maybe a light or two. That's all part of Fort Gibraltar. And that's where we have Festival de Voyageurs every February. It's like our big winter celebration of French culture, Métis culture, that sort of thing. It's a good time. Biggest winter festival in Western Canada too. So it's a big deal. And yeah, it all takes place in this fort. This is a replica of an old fur trading fort that actually used to exist. The original was not. That's that new building that they're still working on the left there. That is officially the tallest building in Winnipeg now. Oh. As of like a month or two ago.
Are we going to get the Burj Khalifa Monday?
Yeah. You know, nothing like that, but
something close to it.
Yeah, that's our version.
Your
of it. Yeah.